welcome back to the Deep Dive. Our goal here, really, is to get under the hood of philanthropy, to look at the gravitational forces that shape it all.
Right. Not just the what and the how, we're always focused on the why, the core strategy.
And for a few weeks, we've been deep in mythology. We talked about stories, the call to adventure for donors.
That 6-word story. For sale. Baby shoes never worn. The emotional hook.
Exactly, the hook. But right after that, we hit the antagonist, the villain of statistics.
That wall of data that just makes the problem feel impossibly huge.
Well, we're done with mythology for now.
Yeah.
We're leaving the stories behind and moving into a totally different world. We're going to talk about physics.
The physics of empathy. And we recommend you really take this next thought on board because it's fundamental. The donor's burden. It isn't just a metaphor. It's not just anxiety.
Okay, hold on.
It registers in the brain as physical mass.
You have to unpack that.
Yeah.
Physical mass. Are you speaking poetically, or do you mean like literal weight?
I mean it scientifically. Well, informed by science. When a donor truly cares, when they really see the need, their brain immediately identifies a gap, a huge one.
The gap between how things are and how they should be.
That's it. The gap between reality, let's call it the earth, and the vision, the goal, the sky. And trying to bridge that gap creates this massive computational load.
A computational load. So that's energy.
It's what some models call free energy. It's a state of high anxiety where the brain is just burning energy trying to fix the problem.
Right.
And we all know the formula, right? E equals mc squared.
Energy equals mass times the speed of light squared.
Right. In a simplified way, they're interchangeable, energy and mass. So that free energy from the empathy, from the anxiety of that gap, it literally registers as weight, as a burden.
So when a donor says a problem feels heavy, they're not just using a figure of speech.
Not at all. They are describing a genuine sensation of carrying mass.
Wow, that reframes everything. So then what about someone who doesn't feel empathy?
Oh.
A sociopath.
They feel nothing. Zero empathy means zero free energy, which means zero mass. They're weightless. But the donor, our hero, they refuse to let go. They hold up the sky. That's Atlas.
Which brings us right to the Atlas dilemma. Because once you accept that weight, you look up and see the villain of statistics. You realize your strength is finite, but the need is, well, it's infinite.
And that's the tragedy, isn't it? It's this unsustainable position. Once you're holding that weight, the Atlas dilemma gives you a terrible choice. A binary trap.
2 options, and both are bad.
2 tragic options, yeah. And both of them ultimately mean the mission fails or the hero just collapses.
Okay, so let's walk through them. What's the first choice?
The first choice is the shrug, from Atlas Shrugged. It's abandonment. The carrier feels the weight crushing them and just decides to drop it. They walk away.
In our world, that's when a donor unsubscribes. They ghost the cause. They save themselves, sure, but the cause loses out.
Exactly. The individual survives, but the world they were trying to hold up gets a little weaker. They chose numbness to save their own energy.
And the second path, the one we see our most passionate people go down.
That's the burnout, the path of martyrdom. This is the person who refuses, absolutely refuses, to drop the weight. They try to carry it all, alone.
We see that in staff turnover, donor fatigue.
Mm-hmm.
The person is just drowning.
Drowning under the mass, trying to hold up the entire sky by themselves, and it's just impossible.
That nonprofit director in the email photo who just looks completely exhausted, that's the image of martyrdom right there.
It is. And, this is where we have to give credit to our community. We recommend you see yourselves and your donors as heroes for this very reason. You refuse to shrug. You choose the pain of empathy over the relief of apathy every single day.
But that choice it's not sustainable. You can't solve an infinite problem with finite strength. You need another way.
You need a third option. And that third option means we have to change the physics. We have to move from Atlas to Archimedes.
Archimedes, okay.
Okay.
So we're moving from just raw strength to leverage.
That's the key. The donor doesn't need to be stronger. They need a mechanical advantage.
This quote from him is really the core of our whole strategy here.
Yeah.
It's worth saying slowly. Archimedes said, "Give me a lever long enough and a fulcrum on which to place it, and I shall move the world."
And that quote, it just blows the whole Atlas model apart. Atlas is static. He's just holding the world. It's all pain and fatigue. It's a battle he will always, always lose.
But Archimedes,
Yeah.
he's not talking about holding anything. He's talking about moving it.
Yes. His method is kinetic. It's dynamic. It changes the entire relationship with the burden.
And that's the aha moment right there. The big problem in our sector is that we keep asking donors to be Atlas. We ask for their strength, but what they want, what they're desperate for, is to be Archimedes. They want leverage.
They want to see the weight move. It's a huge psychological difference. Atlas is trapped. The weight is on his shoulders. He can't go anywhere.
But Archimedes uses a tool.
He applies that weight, that free energy, to a tool. And that converts his empathy into motion, into impact. The difference is seeing, 10 times the impact for the same amount of effort.
So if we're building this system, let's define the parts. In fundraising, what is the lever?
The donor's act of giving, the donation, the commitment, that's the lever. It's how they transfer that emotional weight.
And the fulcrum. That has to be the nonprofit, right? The organization?
The well-run organization, yes. It's the stable point that allows the force to be applied effectively. You are the fulcrum.
But a lever and a fulcrum on their own, they can't just float in space.
Yeah.
If the ground is muddy, the whole thing just sinks. What's the missing piece?
You need a structure to hold it all together. You need scaffolding.
A solid, reliable structure.
Without it, all the donor's energy, all their effort is just wasted.
And that is where we see our role. We're not just a tech company. We're structural engineers.
We recommend you see our platform as exactly that. The scaffolding for the Archimedes lever. It makes that leverage possible, repeatable, reliable.
And the enemy of any good machine, any good structure, is friction. What does friction look like in the donor journey?
Oh, friction is the worst. It just bleeds that free energy away. It's the clunky donation form, the confusing website, the data that gets lost. The donor tries to push on the lever.
And all their energy just turns into heat.
Exactly. The heat of frustration, of confusion, the weight doesn't move, and Atlas is right back where he started, still getting crushed.
So the goal, the engineering ideal, has to be zero friction, a superconductor for philanthropy.
That's it. Our platform is designed to be invisible. When the tech disappears, the energy transfer is instant. 100% of the donor's empathy, their anxiety, gets converted into kinetic work, into real impact.
Static holding versus dynamic moving.
And that brings us to the ultimate reward. In the hero's journey, the hero comes back with the elixir to heal the community. In the physics of philanthropy, the elixir is relief.
That feeling of the weight being lifted, the anxiety finally turning into a solution.
That is the strategic goal. We help the donor put the world down, not by shrugging and walking away, but by moving it forward, by providing the solution.
So a good thank you letter isn't just about the money. It's about confirming that their burden was converted into motion, that they found relief.
When you provide that seamless scaffolding, the view from Atlas's shoulders is no longer crushing. It's a clear view of infinite possibility because their energy actually worked.
That's the difference between asking for a martyr and offering a tool.
The question is never how strong are your donors, it's how effective is their leverage.
So if your current systems feel like they're creating more friction than impact, if your donors seem exhausted, we want to leave you with this final thought. What structural engineering do you need to turn that raw strength into powerful, sustainable leverage?
We'd recommend you start looking at every form, every database, every single touch point as a piece of that structure. Is it scaffolding or is it just friction?
For more information about this and all Click and Pledge products, make sure to visit clickandpledge.com and request for a one-on-one training or demo, whether you are a client or curious about our platform. Just ask us and we will gladly get together with you to chat. Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast to stay up to date with all the latest and greatest features of the Click and Pledge Fundraising Command Center.